going to run through your audit of your website that we've just recently put together. So firstly, just a bit of an overview. We found that the website's pretty good from an SEO perspective, but you do have some pretty big speed issues. And there's also, we found things to improve in security, conversions, and mobile responsiveness. And control is pretty good. So we've got, here's the overview of our findings. So there was 3 high priority issues in the conversions, to do with conversions, and there was 7. All the speed checks that we do came up as high priority issues. In SEO, there was only 1 low priority issue, and the rest was all pretty good. With security, we found 2 high priority issues, but otherwise it was all right. And with your mobile responsiveness, there was a few issues there. 1 was high priority, the rest were not as urgent, and the same with control. We just found 1 high priority issue. So I'll just go through these in more detail. So if you just click on the next page, or over here using the navigation, you can see the conversions. So this is how well your website is designed to encourage sales or conversions. And the first thing we look at is trust and authority. So what things do you have throughout the website that build trust and authority for the visitors to your website? And we found that there really wasn't a lot. You had a couple of text testimonials. If we just come over to the site, you can see that there are text testimonials. Having faces does engage a lot better, and video testimonials are very strong in terms of building trust with viewers. If they can see a face actually talking through the testimonial, it gives a lot more credibility than just some text on a page. And it's also a bit nicer to view. Apart from that, there was no other real authority. Apart from, you did have, in terms of trust, you do have shots of your products, so people can see what it is that you do. You do have, examples of what you provide, and same with on the ebook page, you have photos of what it looks like on the inside. So that sort of thing builds trust, which is good, but I think you could add a lot more in terms of testimonials and authority, logos, client logos, those sort of things. So there's a few ideas here, FAQs and that sort of thing. Then moving on to the strategy and the funnel, the lead capture. This was a bit of an issue. There is lead capture on your website, but there's no strong call to action or offer of value that would encourage me to sign up. There's sort of and it was a bit confusing with the different sign-ups, and I think that needs to be said very clearly and simply. What the different, you have 2 different sign-up levels, I believe, with the unlimited access. There seemed to be a paid one and a free one. So there's no explanation of here what that is on this particular sign up, and there is a bit of a explanation here, but I think it needs to be simplified so it's very easy to understand, and so you can understand it at a glance without having to read it in detail. There was another one on I think the user access page. Yeah, you had this is a bit confusing. It would be better to really simplify that and explain it visually, so it's a lot easier to get the 2 different things. Then the next thing was the tracking. So in terms of tracking the conversions and what works and what doesn't work for you, we found that there is analytics, but you're not using Tag Manager, which is recommended for optimizing the speed. And there was no other tracking found. You're not using remarketing or heat map tracking, which would be better. With the design flow, we're looking at the overall sort of impression that you first get, and at the moment the site seems a bit disjointed. There's with these lines and the levels, and it's all very text heavy. You have one image section there and images here, and you have some and that image. I think that you could be using a bit more graphics and images in the design. and just making it look a bit nicer and a bit more on brand. So yeah, I would consider a bit of a redesign there. And then the fonts and colorings are all pretty fine. Your images and graphics are okay, but you could use a bit more imagery in the design. And then, yeah, the big issue though is the clear message and call to action. There's that you have a headline there with the workbook, but apart from that, there's no actual call to action for what to do next. Like you've explained what the net workbook is, but you don't have a button for me to get the workbook. There's no clear messaging around what to do next. And it's also because this is taking up so much space at the top. Obviously, you're highlighting this, but it's not immediately clear what it is that you do as a business, because you've just got that workbook, and then we've got some images down here. And it's good to have a good, clear message at the top of the page that explains what you do and what sort of problems you solve, what kind of services you provide. Make it very clear with a simple message and some imagery that explains what you do for customers. And then also having strong call to actions as well, so that the message and the offer and the call to action all needs a lot of work. The navigation was okay, and there was all of the phone numbers and email links, emails addresses are not. So it was just phone numbers actually. I don't think there's any email addresses, but the phone numbers were not click to call, which does increase your conversions from mobiles. Then going over to speed, we found a number of issues with your speed. You can see here the test results. 24 Google page speed score is very low, and that will also be affecting your SEO. So Google will not want to rank a website that has such a low score, and they care mainly about their page speed score. It doesn't really matter how fast it actually loads for you. The score that they give you is what they use to determine how whether or not they it affects your rankings. GT metrics, however, do have a very comprehensive score, and that's what we use. You can see over here there's a number of issues with the GT metrics report. The page speed score is very low, and your load time, I got a slightly better one on this second go than the initial report, but still that's very slow. You need to really be halving that at least. And the issues were around there's no compression on the server, a lot of images need to be optimized, and there's some JavaScript issues here as well, and you need to get some better caching going on the server. So the improvements here are the server does need to be updated with that compression, and you don't have Tag Manager. That will help with putting scripts and stuff inside Tag Manager so that it only loads one script instead of loading several. Improving the caching needs to be done. You're not currently using a CDN, so I would recommend setting up Cloudflare Content Delivery Network. That will speed up your site and make sure that it loads fast wherever people are accessing it in the world. And your images are very poorly optimized. That certainly needs to be optimized. And there was a few out-of-date plugins found, and you do have a lot of plugins and themes that are not being used. I think that your plugins, themes, and database generally needs a bit of a tidy up. That will help speed up the way that your website loads. As I mentioned earlier, SEO generally was all pretty good. You don't have any ways, any sharing buttons. That was the only sort of small issue I found. It's good to have sharing buttons that encourages people to share your content, which helps your SEO. Then we have security. And there was no issues with security and the SSL, but we did find that there was a lot of older plugins that do need updating, and we could probably just do a bit of an audit of your plugins and see if any could be replaced or removed. We also found that you don't have a security firewall on there or spam protection, so that certainly needs to be addressed. And the other thing was that it was just that some themes, some plugins could be replaced. So that was the only other small issue there. Then with mobile responsiveness, we found that the Google mobile friendly test came up negative. Your website is not mobile friendly according to Google, and that does again affect your SEO rankings. If Google doesn't think that your website's mobile responsive, then it's going to affect how you come up, especially in mobile searches. So if people are searching for the related keywords from their phone, then your website will not be coming up if it's not mobile friendly, and it does also affect where it comes up on the desktop as well, but not as much. And so there was things that were hard to click and the content was too wide, so you need to scroll side to side. There was also the mobile menu was not great to use, and there was some issues on both phone and tablet, and also the speed of the mobile test was pretty low. That's another issue there that's affecting how it will appear in mobile searches. Then in terms of control, editability was pretty good, but you're not taking regular backups. I think there was one backup in there from a few years ago, and so that's something that needs to be addressed, certainly, and we can add in some training instructions there for you. So I hope that has been valuable for you. If you have any questions, feel free to just let us know, and we've got a page of recommendations there listing the high priority ones and the low priority ones, and you can just let us know which ones you want to go ahead with. Cheers.